Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, let's discuss the API testing interview questions and answers which are of scenario based. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, it's based on Postman tool, guys. Okay, these are the easy level interview questions. What is an API and what does REST stands for? What are the most common HTTP methods and when do you use each? What's the difference between 200, 201 and 204? What does a 404 status mean and what about 500? Explain the difference between query parameters and path parameters. Give an example. What is a request header? Can you name three you commonly use in Postman? How do you send a post request with a JSON body in Postman? What is the difference between get and post? What is a base URL and how do you set it in Postman? Your API returns 401. What does that mean and what do you check first? What is the content type header and why does it matter? How do you save a request in Postman? What is the difference between request body and response body? How do you check that an API returned the correct data in Postman? What is an endpoint? Give an example. Okay, the next set of interview questions are at medium level. Okay, so you are testing a login API. What test cases would you cover beyond the happy path? What are Postman environments and why would you use them at a startup? And how do you use a token from a login response in the next request automatically? What is the difference between bearer token and basic authentication? Your post request keeps returning 400. Can you walk me through the debugging process? What is a Postman collection and how would you organize one for an e-commerce API? How do you write a Postman test to check the response status code? How do you verify a specific field value in the response body? What's the difference between functional and performance testing for APIs? How do you chain two requests in Postman? Create a user, then fetch them. What are Postman variables? Explain global versus environment versus collection. Your API works in Postman but fails in front end. What three things would you check? How would you test pagination in API? What is cause and have you seen a cause error while testing? How do you test file upload endpoints in Postman? What is the difference between smoke testing and regression testing of an API? Your team deployed a new build. How do you quickly verify nothing is broken? What is a mock server in Postman and when is it useful at a startup? You get 422 unprocessable entity. How is it different from 400? How do you test an API that requires a one-time OTP? And these are hard level of interview questions, guys. Your startup has dev, staging and production. How do you structure Postman across all three? A payment API returns inconsistent responses, sometime 200, sometime 500. How do you investigate? How would you test an API for security vulnerabilities using just Postman? How do you run a Postman collection automatically on every deployment using Newman? Okay, test that deleting a user and deleting a user also deletes their associated orders. How? What is rate limiting? How do you test that an API enforces it? Explain idempotency. Which HTTP methods should be idempotent and how do you test it? API response time went from 200 milliseconds to 4 seconds. How do you isolate the cause? Backend code isn't yet ready. How do you handle API testing at a fast moving startup? A dev says the API is contract tested. What does that mean versus what you do in Postman? How would you test a webhook, an API that sends data to your server? You are asked to write an API test report for a feature going to production tomorrow. What does it contain? Your Postman collection has 80 requests and the runner fails on request 47. How do you find the root cause? A startup launches API version 2 while keeping the version 1 alive. How do you test backward compatibility? You found a bug in production through API testing. Walk through your full process. Okay, guys, I have uploaded this documentation in the interview preparation kit. Please do check out and let me know if you have any queries or questions. Thank you so much for watching my video. All the best for your upcoming interview. I have given the interview preparation kit in the description and comment box. Okay, yeah, thank you so much.